Cool. Nice. Cool.
Is it recording now?
Yeah, it's recording. Woo.
Okay.
Dandelion.
Cheers.
Cheers. Should we cheers?
Nice dandelion coffee.
It's quite good, isn't it? Good bit of coffee.
Yeah.
And all that.
And all that.
And all that jazz. Should we hug before?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Love
Lovely.
you,
Good,
love
love you
you.
too. Cool. Nice stuff. Well.
Oh, love you.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. Don't know. Should we talk about? Don't know. Music.
Up to you.
Or. I don't know.
I thought what we were talking about this morning was quite an interesting subject.
Yeah, should we go on
about the aspect of being the observer.
Right. Okay.
And seeing the bigger picture in life, being able to stay in your centre.
Yeah.
And to not be pulled about on the waves of the external world. When I say external, the 3D reality.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Sort of how to stay in your centre, how to detach and not be affected so much by everything that's going on out there. I thought that was a really nice subject.
Okay.
That will probably help a lot of people right now.
It is nice. It is it's valuable.
Yeah.
To. I suppose it's. Being aware. That we are not the body or the mind or the.
You mean being aware of what we actually are, the truth of what we are. And I liked what we talked about earlier when we were saying that our physical body is but the overcoat or the costume that we wear for this life. But it's our internal part of us, the spiritual aspect, the soul, mind, that is the true part of us, really.
I think that there is a part of God in everyone. And he resides in our hearts. As I believe he created man and gave us the powers of free will and entitlement to create as we wish in any manner, whether good or evil.
Very true. Yeah, we have the free will, the choice, don't we? To choose.
Yes. And he gave that. But he always listens and is compassionate for those who choose to will with him.
When you say will with him, what do you mean? You mean to be aware of him?
To combine wills with the God, to kind of serve or be in conjunction with his power and will.
Yeah, and as you're talking, something that comes to mind is who is he? What is he? You see, I always see, you can use, I say, personally, I see the term God as a label for the source of all creation, the Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's so many different belief systems out there, isn't there? You've got Buddha, Krishna, people want to call whatever resonates for them, really, and that's their free will. So God is a term for the source of all creation. That's how I see it. And it's just up to the individual what label they want to give that, how they want to see that. Whether they wish to see God as a deity, as they do in Krishna, or, you know, for me, in my personal views, it's God is, it's the Great Spirit, the source of all creation. And that's our whole purpose in life is to work our way back to the source, where we came from. We all come from the source.
Right. And
yeah.
How is that done?
How is it done? It's done through evolvement, because every human being, every soul, has the opportunity to evolve through teachings and lessons that are given to them while they're living on this earth, and also while you're in spirit, because it doesn't stop. And as you learn and evolve and your consciousness raises, so you move through the different spheres of spirit or life, if it's down here.
And how can one evolve willingly?
The way I see it, Cam, is that we come back into this earth, we reincarnate, we come into this costume, and before we come back, we choose what lessons, what teachings we need to achieve while we're here. And those teachings can sometimes be quite difficult, quite harsh for us. And it's how we deal with that, how we learn that lesson, learn that teaching, embrace that teaching. What do we learn from it? You know, when something happens in my life, I always say, okay, let's stop. And I say, what is it I actually need to learn from this? There's always a teaching, always. And that once you come through that teaching, that raises your consciousness, your level of consciousness. You start to evolve, you change, you go into the next one. You have a little break for a while, everything seems nice, and then you have another teaching. And that's why life is never linear. It's kind of, everything's nice and calm and easy for a little while, and then a big lesson comes and you go down and you think, oh, this is terrible, what's happening to me? But actually that is a teaching that we've potentially chosen before we come back to enable our soul to grow. And that teaching goes through our entire life, and that's why we have the waves of up and down through life, always. And this also continues in the spirit world. But sometimes we need to come back here to have these earthly experiences purely to enable us to evolve and change and grow.
I see. Right. Should we...
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fancy a hug? Oh.
Cool. That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, they're my beliefs. That's how I perceive life and the spirit.
Yeah.
But other people might have different ones, different ideas, which I think it's always good to have an open mind, because we don't fully know everything. We can't fully know everything.
Right.
So it's always good to have an open mind to what might be true with other people's beliefs and opinions as well.
Yeah. I see. Yes, we
grow.
We
That's
do.
our whole purpose, is to grow, not to stagnate. And you probably experience this, that when you there's a teaching,
Yeah.
and if you don't actually embrace that teaching and that lesson, you go around in a cycle like a washing machine, constantly repeating until that teaching, that lesson gets so intense that we have to listen. It's like, oh, I can't ignore this anymore.
True.
And it's not until we embrace that teaching that we can actually move on in life.
Yeah.
Otherwise we stagnate and we wonder why we're stuck in that cycle of repetitiveness.
I see. I think like we are here in a body to experience reality and life, and I think we have that step that we're able to, as human beings, to step back from ourselves and view everything that changes, and to view everything, and to take a break from everything that's going on, and to kind of move out of that into a place where we're observing everything that's moving and changing, almost like the kind of peace you get with a sunset as you watch it and feel that inner sense of bliss and peace. And I think that's when we almost step out of that personality that's striving and trying and changing, and we're able to observe and step back and actually sort of see ourselves from a neutral place where we can see our whole being and personality and body, and see it from a neutral place where I think that it's the only real place of peace that we can ever actually achieve or find, because where we are in that place unchanging, we are still, because we are not changing or moving or fading, but we're observing everything that is changing and moving and fading. And I think it's a gift to be able to be in that peace. And we don't, I think we've kind of lost our touch of that a little bit.
I hear what you're saying. It's all, as you're talking, what I'm visualising is us standing by a river and just watching the river or the stream going by and all the things happening, but not being drawn into the stream, just watching it happening and occurring, but staying in our peace, staying in our centre. And yeah, and even when the river becomes like a torrent and it's, you know, aggressive and angry and going everywhere, we still stay calm beside the edge and we're not being pulled into it. You see, that's kind of something that just came up as you were talking. And that's also about being very, very present, isn't it? Present in that moment. And that's what a sunset does. Something beautiful like a sunset that you mentioned is putting you in that present moment, because you're in that moment only and you're looking at that sunset
Yeah.
and you're feeling the beauty of it and the joy and everything, all those lovely emotions that it brings up.
Mm.
You're not thinking about the past or the future, you're in that present moment.
Mm. Yeah. I think even with like that moment, I think we almost, it's like, yeah, we become detached or
I think totally.
like almost immersed, but
Like when you play your musical instruments,
yeah.
what does that do? You're playing your guitar or some kind of music, that a musician will be in the present moment only.
Immersed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then inspiration can flow as well when you're present. It's when
Yeah.
our minds are in the past or the future and we're missing that present moment. It's so important, so valuable.
Mm.
So much can happen because it's really all we've got.
It
Is the present moment. And that's where we can find the beauty and the peace and the harmony
yeah.
within ourselves. And it's when we get drawn out of that by the tidal waves of life,
Yeah.
family, friends, whatever's going on in our lives, situations, it can draw us in and that pulls us out of our peace and harmony. So it's about being, like you mentioned, detachment. To being detached doesn't mean you're unemotional.
Yeah.
It just means you're not being drawn in. You can be the observer.
So detached, like not allowing things to sort of drag your attention out, not allowing and maintaining the awareness and presence inside, instead of allowing external things to take your attention and drag you to places, or instead to remain aware inside and internally and maintain that. There's that difference of feeling of when you feel sort of whole and connected, and then you can feel, and you feel aware and here and present, and then you can feel very frustrated, agitated, like overwhelmed and like caught up in this rush. I think that's when we become sort of overwhelmed in the mind, and we're attached. We're focusing on our material things. We're trying to like get everything done, and we're overwhelmed by the day and what's happening. And then if we can like come back from that and observe ourselves in that moment of like panic and overwhelm and frustration, we can step back, analyze ourselves, see it for what's going on, which is uncomfortable because we have to step back from it and allow it to just simmer down, allow that frustration and energy and that almost momentum to just simmer, and then we can come back to ourselves truly, where we feel present and connected and whole again, instead of frustrated and overwhelmed.
It's quite an art, isn't it? It's a
It is.
practice.
It is.
And it's not something that can be achieved overnight. We have to give it time and attention. So how do you do that personally when you get drawn into overwhelm and you're being affected by all the things going on in the 3D reality? Let's call it the normal world,
Or
whatever.
just in
What
the
do you
world,
do?
yeah. So I think the first thing is to become aware or notice that I am in that state, that I'm not feeling present, and I'm not feeling calm right now. I feel really overwhelmed and not very comfortable and very frustrated. Don't always have to be comfortable, but I don't feel like calm and or aware. I'm not present. And then once I'm aware of that, breathing helps a lot. because breathing will bring you. It's the easiest way to, or the best way to bring you back to the present moment, because breath is everything in this present moment. It's every inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. It's this very moment right now in this center, and that brings you right to the here, to the now. Focusing on that breath is like the essence of the moment, because that's the one thing that is happening now. The breath in, out, in, out, in, out. And that takes you, it settles everything down. Awareness comes to the breath, which is the present moment, and then through that breath you will just settle down and everything simmers and you become peaceful and calm again. Might take 10 minutes, but in that long run it's very worth it, because you can maintain that peaceful state, and then once you return to the moment, you're back present within your awareness of yourself, your mind, your feelings, emotions, present, and feel calm again, and then continue with that presentness.
So have you experienced that when you've been in a social situation?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. And what do you do when you're in a social situation? How do you deal with that?
How do I deal with that? Normally, in all honesty, I just freak out.
Right.
In all honesty.
So do you remove yourself from the room, or
the easiest thing for me is to remove myself from the room, and to just go and breathe for like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and just to try and recenter myself back.
Yeah.
And come back to myself. Or I connect with my heart, my center, the heart chakra, and I'll just put my hand, or I'll just feel that area, and I'll listen and begin listening and hear what it's saying, and that allows me to just realise and bring myself back to reality a little bit. Can get very overwhelmed in the mind.
Yeah.
And the heart just says, everything's fine, everything's peaceful, just come back and remind yourself that you're safe, you're okay, breathe, settle,
and then you go back into it feeling different in some way.
The heart really helps me to just just settles everything down.
That's good. Yeah, I think as I'm listening to you, I definitely had those experiences when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, before I realised how sensitive I was, my teens.
Yeah.
If I'd go out and I'd be in a social situation, but it wasn't anything somebody was doing or saying or behaviour or anything like that. It was just being in that energy. And where I didn't realise I was so sensitive to energy, but I used to do exactly that. I'd take myself off to the toilet, have a few minutes, change my perspective, change my attitude, and just kind of go back into it feeling very different.
Cool.
Yeah, so it definitely works, and you can do it in minutes. You don't have to be disappearing for a long time.
Yeah. What do you think we should call it?
Have you not recorded this?
No, I'm pretty sure I have.
Oh.
Imagine if I didn't. No, I am recording it.
You have?
It's 23 minutes.
That's enough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's more